This is a walkthrough and review of the 2022 Kia Niro EV, or e-Niro in Europe. No, not Nero, but Niro, as in near zero. Apparently it's really for near zero defects and not near zero emissions. Kind of weird, but honest, and pronounced De Niro. Come on, you haven't seen the ads? Getting into it, here's the Niro's exterior, which is not the refreshed look with updated badging. It's sort of like a reverse mullet. Party in the front, pretty standard business everywhere else. The front with the covered grille, wrapped headlights, bent fog lights, and bright blue accents give this a modern EV look. And then the sides look like a lot of other small SUV crossover types, even though this is debatable if the Niro is one of those. Standard body lines, chrome accents around the windows, and traditional door handles, which should be no surprise since the Niro EV is based on a gas engine car, and you can now get a Niro hybrid, a Niro plug-in hybrid, and this, the full Niro EV. So if you like traditional small SUV looks with a few punches of accents that say, hey, I'm hip, then you'll probably love the look. The EV comes with 17-inch alloy wheels regardless of the trim you choose. The charging port is on the front of the car. This location of the charger is pretty much forced due to the conversion and multiple engine options of this car, but it does leave it in a vulnerable position to accidents and potential expensive repairs if there's ever a front-end accident. The newer Kia EVs seem to be moving their charger ports toward the back, for better or for worse. Let's jump inside. To do so, you can use the key fob or use their mobile app. The mobile app can also be used for climate control, charging settings, and other cool features. Inside, you can see the overall style is nice, having a lot of the updated traditional looks, as well as a couple of EV features. And hey, those blue lines from the exterior followed us inside to remind everyone again that, hey, I'm sporty, EV, and fun. Tactile buttons are abound for those that hate touchscreen-centric climate and controls, though there is a nice 10.3-inch touchscreen for those that like to tap on glass repeatedly. Overall, a solid look with great sightlines, and a feel and quality that is just good enough for the price point. For features, it has a lot of standard features you find in most new cars. Driver's side electric seat controls, though only manual levers on the passenger side, and no seat controls for the rear seats. Manual vent and air controls, side door compartments, manual glove box, a large cup holder area, and good center console storage. Some features to call out include the wireless charging area, as well as other wired charging options. Another feature is the array of buttons in the center console area and below the touchscreen. The main control is a dial that you turn to select your gear, including park. You can also set your heated and vented seats here, and your heated steering wheel if you get the winter package. And you'll also notice that you can set a couple of driving options here, as opposed to the touchscreen like so many EVs. These two driving options are popular to change on the fly, so it makes sense that the Niro makes them more accessible here. These are the auto hold and drive mode buttons. Auto hold holds your car in place without the use of the brake after you come to a complete stop. Drive mode toggles your driving mode between economy, normal, and sport, which changes the amount of power and regenerative braking settings on the car to either maximize battery efficiency or speed and acceleration. All climate controls can be found above the wireless charger and the touchscreen. Standard tactile buttons that are familiar, so if you hate using a touchscreen for such controls, you'll love this. The rear defrost button will also turn on the heated side mirrors, which is cool. There are also a couple of unique buttons on this car. There is a heat button that turns the heater on, but increasing the heat on the temperature dial will use the heater as needed too. There are also the EV and climate buttons, which when pushed, pop up controls on the touchscreen above. Speaking of the touchscreen, let's talk about that bad boy. 10.3 inches and very panoramic in size. The touchscreen houses great navigation, fantastic battery and energy usage information, music options, and settings for driving and charging. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connection options are also available. Touchscreen doesn't have any entertainment or game options, which seems like a thing Kia would include at some point down the road. The home screen is broken out into 3 widgets, which can be changed and arranged. Widgets include map, radio/media, electric vehicle, climate, weather, and clock. Tapping on any of them brings up that widget in more detail with loads of submenus and options to tap deeper into. For example, the electric vehicle widget has a ton of information on the remaining range of the battery, showing a very rough map to visually represent the range. Though I wish it was not just a circle and more accurate based on roads. And there's energy information screens where you can set up how your range looks like on the map, your charging limits on AC and DC charging. You can even see a live and historic breakdown of energy usage between driving, climate control, electronics, and battery care. And many more. The whole infotainment system has a large array of options and functionality. The visuals are kind of meh and feel dated. The map has some serious MapQuest vibes, and the responsiveness is good, but not great. But overall, if you enjoy lots of customization, setting adjustments, and lots of data points, this infotainment system is for you. Looking up, you will find some storage and lighting by the visors, and further up, you'll discover a nice moonroof with some more lighting options. Let me steer your attention and turn towards the steering wheel. Tons and tons of tactile buttons on the wheel and on the two stalks. And there are even 2 extra paddles on the steering wheel. These are for setting your regenerative braking strength, so you can regain more battery with harder regen braking, or you can minimize braking and coast a little bit more like a gas car at the expense of battery regeneration. The buttons on the steering wheel and the stalks are standard ones that you would find on most cars and is the usual layout for the Kia family of this vintage. Looking beyond the wheel, you can see the instrument display. If you're comparing this to a Model 3 or Y, this is a really nice feature that you won't find in there. It provides the most useful info in front of you, like your battery state, which is designed like a fuel gauge. It also shows a bar that shows power and charge that basically changes every time you touch or let go of the accelerator, but the bar changes depending on the driving mode you're in. On the right is your speedometer, and the bottom part of the middle has your outside temperature, gear, and odometer. And of course, towards the top, you have some standard warning lights. In the absolute middle of the cluster is a wide array of options that includes things like trip, radio info, warnings, efficiency info, compass, and a large menu of settings and preferences for the display and the whole car. The display is excellent and definitely a standout feature of the car. Bringing it back to the back seat, the Niro has a pretty standard back seat with standard features. Not huge, but not a small back seat by any means and is very usable. There's a foldable armrest with cup holders, rear vents, standard back seat controls, and the whole back row folds down from the trunk. That may be the norm for these cars, but it's always handy to have. The trunk/hatchback. Well, the trunk is annoying off the bat, since there is no automatic way to open it. You can unlock it with the keyless remote, but it does not open it for you. You must open it manually. The trunk is good, versatile, and has solid storage space. So since this has a great use of space, the Frunk must be good too, right? Well, here's the Frunk. Where the frack is the Frunk? Absolutely no space here, which is due to the fact that this model was not originally designed for an EV, and they shoehorned the EV components in this body. So that's a bit disappointing. Okay, but how about the primary objective of a car? How does this car drive? It drives well enough, somewhere between good and great. It drives like a lot of other similar cars in its comparable non-EV class. Good handling, average ride comfort, some road and wind noise, and mostly good visibility through all sides of the car. If you're looking for acceleration, there is some relative to a gas car, but not nearly as punchy as other EVs, with this car doing 0 to 60 in about 6.2 seconds. The regenerative braking level is adjustable, which is very nice, both to help people who don't like the feel of it and for adjusting in the winter to provide comfort on icy roads. It comes with adaptive cruise control and lane assist, and other safety monitoring systems like many cars today. Honestly, outside of the regenerative braking, it drives a lot like a non-EV car, which might be its selling point. And what about charging? Well, it has a standard CCS charging port capable of level 1, 2, and 3 charging. I've already touched on how I don't love the location of the charging port and would prefer to see it on the side of the car. And the other issue I have with the charging port on the Niro EV is how more susceptible it is to freezing in the winter. As you can see, it was a bit stuck when I tried to open it here. The charging rates are a bit slower on the Kia Niro compared to its competitors, with a level 2 charging rate of 7.4 kilowatts and a level 3 at 77 kilowatts. For comparison, a Model 3 or Y has a level 2 charging rate of 11.5 kilowatts and a level 3 of up to 250 kilowatts. Not to mention faster speeds are being hinted at for Teslas. While charging at home is going to account for 99% of charging for the average person, a faster charging speed is nice to have. When out on the road, while EV charging networks are expanding rapidly, nothing comes close to comparing to Tesla's network in terms of coverage and speed. Here are my impressions about the Niro EV in harsher winter climates. I think it would be okay. I wouldn't get the lower range option unless you drive very minimally each day. Losing 30 to 50% of your range in the winter would really limit you. There is a way to precondition the cabin and battery via the mobile app to warm up before departing, which helps out a lot on range and energy usage, so the car isn't trying to warm up the battery as much when you're driving. To get this, you will have to pay $1,100 more for the cold weather package, which includes a battery heater, heat pump, and heated steering wheel, which I would very strongly recommend if you have cold winters. And as I mentioned above, the charging port is a bit susceptible to getting frozen shut in snow and ice. And I will add, the ability to change the regenerative braking level is really nice to have for the winter months. Otherwise, it handles like any other car in the winter. Fine driving if you take it slow and on good all-season tires, but much better driving if you get some winter tires on it. As far as EVs go, this car would be fine. Not the best, but it would be just fine in harsh winters. The 2022 version of the Niro EV starts at $39,990, but that excludes a destination fee that is most likely going to be included no matter what. So let's call it $41,245 before taxes. The Niro EV is still eligible for the $7,500 tax credit. So if you fully qualify with your personal tax situation and your taxes owed, you can essentially pay $33,745 for the base model with 239 miles of range. Very solid considering a standard model range 3 with slightly more range at 267 miles comes in over $16,000 higher at $49,940 after their destination fee. And it's cheaper by about $5,000 than the Polestar 2. The 2022 Niro only has one battery size option, so 239 miles of range it is. You can get all the bells and whistles in the Niro EV for $47,840 or $40,340 after that $7,500 tax credit, which is still about $10,000 cheaper than a 2022 standard range Model 3. The Niro EV also has comparable, but a slightly better warranty length than a Model 3 or Polestar 2, with a 5-mile, 60,000-mile basic warranty and a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain. The battery warranty is comparable to both as well, with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. What do I think overall? I think the car is okay. Admittedly, it's not my style. If you're a fan of the Kia aesthetic, then you'll probably love the look. The overall quality is average, about right for the price point. It's about as solid, noisy, and comfortable as my Model 3, which, as we just discussed, was more expensive. The speediness and fun that comes with a lot of EVs is not present here, with a slower acceleration and less zip. So if you care about that sort of stuff, you will definitely notice. The range and charging is also just okay. Maybe even a little lacking in range and charging speed compared to all the other EVs that are hitting the market right now. But with all of these shortcomings, does the great price make up for it? I absolutely think so. I think the price point is the biggest thing going for this car, especially if you're getting a tax credit with it. The price point is very attractive, and that alone will make this car a popular option for someone's first electric vehicle, or even their second or third. Kia is refreshing the Niro for 2023 with new dimensions and battery infrastructure. It'll be interesting to see the exact specs and the price, so if you have time to wait but are interested in the Niro, see what the 2023 model has to offer you. If you have a Niro, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from more owners of this car and what they love or hate about it. Until next time, we'll see you up north.